folks, welcome back to my incessant drivel. Today's challenge video is taking a completely different turn as we are dealing with a Pokemon ROM hack in Pokemon Red called Pokemon Team Rocket Edition. This was a fan user made ROM hack made 15 years ago where you play as James, your rival as Jesse, and Giovanni more or less plays the role of Professor Oak. As most ROM hacks go, there are changes to the layout, areas and difficulty of the game, and this is no exception. For example, look at the gyms. There are a solid 15 to 20 levels higher than you would typically get in the regular games. However, grinding won't be the theme of today's challenge. We're going to try and beat this game with a team of level 69 Pokemon. Yes, I'm sure you're aware I've referenced this immature gag plenty of times, and yes, it is nice, but whilst the level itself is ridiculously high, as you can probably ascertain from the already ridiculously high gym levels, the Elite Four and Champion will be much, much higher. The rules for this challenge are follows. I can have any team of level 69 Pokemon. I'm excluding legendaries because otherwise it'd be way too easy. There'll be no items in battle, no glitches or exploits. I know Gen 1 is full of them, for example the missing no glitch, but not ones I deliberately do to gain an advantage. And leveling up legitimately. In the case of elemental stones for certain Pokemon, this will be after their strongest moves. I'll explain this in more detail later as there are certain changes. So with that, let's get started. So as I mentioned at the start of the game, you play as James and you have Jesse as your rival. Typically, you get the choice between Coughing, Ekans and Meowth as your starter. As we're dealing with James, for the purposes of this challenge, we'll appropriately pick Coughing, and also because it is the weakest in terms of its move variety early on. I name it Cough Drop, and I'll do nicknames for each Pokemon I catch, just for a bit of amusing language. Our first battle with Jesse was a tight finish. I tried to get poison with Smog, which doesn't hit all the time, but I ended up just using Tackle instead and scraping by with 1 health left. With that, I started in Arinho town, make my way up to Neptarville, get Giovanni's package and deliver it to him, and start the challenge. In Route 1 you have Doduo and Rattata. Doduo is actually a solid flying type, and of its evolution, Fearow and Pidgeot, Dodrio has better attack and speed, so this is my first team member. On the rare occasion, you can find Pinsir here and it is incredibly powerful. Despite it being incredibly hard to catch and train, it hits hard with its 125 base attack, as well as learning Slash, Swords Dance, and some decent normal TMs. Funnily enough, I encountered 3 of these in a row, despite having maybe a 5% encounter rate, but I had no Pokeballs on me at that time. After catching Birdbrain, I go further north to Volcano Cave, where this is filled with a bunch of really good fire Pokemon. It has Vulpix, Ponyta, Charmander, and Growlithe. And I catch Vulpix, named it Curls, and Charmander, naming it Manda. Charmander will be great early on for when it evolves, but Vulpix in the long run has better special than Charizard, and it also learns Confuse Ray, so I think these are both worthwhile additions to the team for now. Back in Route 1, I do eventually catch a Pinsir after 5 Pokeballs and name it Claw. Having already played this game before, I know that we have to already train like crazy. Volcano Cave has trainers with levels into their early teens, and after that, in the next town is essentially Cerulean City. So we have to compile a team good enough to beat our rival and make progress. In the wild, Doduo gives good enough experience, but once my team is a high enough level, I can train them in Volcano Cave where the experience is much, much better. In the cave here too, on the rare occasion, you can also find Sandshrew, and this is a definite find. I name it Cheese. When it evolves, Sandslash has great attack and great defense, and I can teach it Earthquake, Dig, and it learns Slash, so it will be a powerful ground brick wall. So after roughly 3 hours of grinding, my Charmander is now a Charmeleon, and I have a good enough team to at least make it through Volcano Cave, and to have a decent enough chance to beat our next mandatory rival fight. And here's why I grinded early. You have a few trainers with potentially difficult battles. The first trainer has already 3 level 11 Pokemon, and there is a lass with a level 13 Pikachu, and a scientist with a level 11 Geodude. They're not that hard once you have trained enough. After reaching the outside of Volcano Cave, we reach Feldspur City, and we have a mandatory rival fight. There is no way in hell that our team of level 10s to 17 will beat the first gym. Heck, the first 2 trainers beforehand can wipe our whole team before that anyway. So let's go to the rival fight. Jesse opens with a level 15 Rattata, and it has Hyper Fang and Quick Attack, so I use Claw to deal with it. It opens with Tail Whip, so I take up below half its health with Vice Grip. Rattata's Hyper Fang leaves Claw with 4 health, as a second attack brings it to low health. Instead of finishing Claw off, Rattata used Tail Whip a second time, so Claw was able to finish it off. Next is Grimer, so I use Cheese for the bulkier matchup. Scratch does little damage and Grimer's Pound does more, but disables Scratch next turn, so I end up having no choice than to reduce its accuracy with Sand Attack. Grimer disables Scratch a second time, but it completely cripples its chances to attack, so I slowly end up whittling it down with half Cheese's health to spare. Next is Zubat, and I use Curls to overpower it with Ember. It works as it doesn't confuse me, so it's easy. With Meowth, I know it's dangerous because high speed stats generally mean more critical hits, so I try and use Sand Attack from Cheese. It works pretty well as I get 2 Sand Attacks in due to a missed hit before going down. I send in Curls, but Meowth's faster and takes me down with a critical bite. I get Claw out and get 2 Vice Grips in before going down. I send in Cough Drop and get Poison in with Smog, and the damage from it and Tackle eventually catches up with Meowth as it can't land a hit, taking it down. Not a bad first fight. After that, I have to do a bit more grinding. The trainers in Nugget Bridge have levels in their mid to late teens and level 20, and the Pokemon are actually quite dangerous, having Pokemon like Onix, Slowpoke, Shelder, and Lickitung, so I have to try and keep up. After over 5 hours into this challenge, my team is better equipped. Curls has Quick Attack, Cheese has Slash, and we're able to struggle our way through. However, I still had more trouble than I would have to with the police chief afterwards, who took out half my team with its Drowsy and Farfetch'd. Still, I teach Dig to Cheese and make my way to Mount Air. Certain caves in this ROM hack are weirdly split up in different locations, so we make our way through to the next town. Even though I've done some heavy grinding already, the Pokemon in this cave are in their level 20s and above. In here you can find Zubat, the Nidorans, Grimer and Jigglypuff, but I'm not particularly interested. On the other side is Larimar Town, which is essentially Lavender Town and has the Pokey Cemetery where our next rival battle awaits. Pokey Cemetery is similar to Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, however, as I'm sure you may have guessed, the levels are far more ridiculous. And Jesse's team have levels in their low to mid 20s. However, I still battle her even if I have a level disadvantage against her. As expected, Jesse leads with a level 25 Raticate, and it could totally destroy my team with Hyper Fang. I lead with Cheese, and a Hyper Fang non-critical takes out half my health, as I try to stall it with Sand Attack. It then uses Tackle, which takes Cheese to a quarter health, and I get another Sand Attack in. It misses its Tackle as I dig for a little under a half, and then take it out on the second attack, probably due to damage range. I switch Cheese into Manda to deal with Doduo, and it growls, but a critical Ember makes short work of it. Next is Grimer, and I stay in, but Grimer only attacked twice, so I slowly take it down. With Cubone, I just send in Bird Brain knowing it only has Bone Club, which can't affect it, and it takes a while because my attack got reduced heaps. Last is Meowth, and I take a chance on Cheese, and luckily enough, Meowth just uses Screech twice, so 2 critical slashes took it out. That was a lot easier than I expected. It's obvious I can't really make much more progress as they have Ghastlies in their mid-level 30s who can pretty much two-shot my whole team. I actually won this battle due to their stupid move choice, but I don't bother making much more progress in this area until I get more level. West of Larimar Town is Route 5 and actually has some excellent grass types to deal with the water gym back in Felspur City, but I try beforehand to see how far I get even with my level disadvantage. Sandy leads with a level 24 Vaporeon, which has a lot of health and special, so I brute force it with Seismic Toss with Claw. It takes out 3/4 of its health with 3 Seismic Tosses, then I switch out to Cough Drop to get rid of the accuracy drop, and it easily finishes it off. I stay in for Lapras, and although I get confused by Confuse Ray, I bypass it and get a critical Smog, which does little damage, but I still get a poison on Lapras. I do hit myself twice, as Lapras just continues to use Miss, and I lay in weak tackles, as Lapras confuses me again, and finally lays in a Bubble Beam to get me to red health, before I finish myself off. By this point, Lapras is at red health, so I send in Curls to take priority with a quick attack, but it doesn't even do that much, and I go down to a Bubble Beam. I'm actually not surprised. Lapras doesn't take poison on a knockout, but Bird Brain is faster and finishes it with Peck. I won solely because of Lapras's bad move choice. Bubble Beam would have taken out my whole team easily. Route 5 shows just how much the Pokemon have increased in level. Normally the levels are in their early to mid 20s, but this trainer has a level 30 Kangaskhan. I'm saved by some of the stupid AI in this game though. I do eventually catch a Bulbasaur, and they're at level 25 in this area, which is perfect, as I can level it up to 27, learn Growth, and then evolve it. Growth was overpowered in Generation 1, as it raised special as a whole by one stage, so special defense and special attack were increased. After making my way into Realguard Town, I go further west. Here in this cave is another split of Mount Air, and this has some good Pokemon to train on. It has mostly Geodude and Graveler, but it also has Diglett, Dugtrio, and also Slowpoke. I catch a Slowpoke as it's my water type and name it Homer because it's once again slow.
Slow? They call you slow! How dare you!
I teach Homer Bubble Beam from Sandy as it will take care of most ground types and level up. It learns Amnesia at level 40 and it raises special similar to Growth by 2 stages this time, and being a Psychic and Water type, both being special, be insanely powerful when it evolves. After a bit of training, I get Bird Brain to level 30 to learn Drill Peck and then evolve it into Dodrio to absolutely crush the fighting dojo back in Realguard Town. On the other side of Mount Air is a bunch of trainers with mostly grass types, and their levels are in their early 30s. I have to level up a bit before the electric gym west of here anyway, so it's a good area. However, it is a pain when you don't have fly and you have to make your way all the way through the cave after being poisoned or paralyzed from the status ailments in this area. And now here's one of the rules I was going to allude to at the start of this challenge. In this game, Coughing can start evolving at level 30 instead of 35. Obviously, I want the better stats, but I do want to keep this challenge as legitimate as possible, so I won't evolve it until level 35 and after it learns Sludge. Same goes for Vulpix. In previous runs of this game, I couldn't evolve it with a Firestone, but it can also evolve on its own at roughly the same level as Coughing. So I opt to only evolve it until it learns Flamethrower, coincidentally also at level 35. At this point, I've already spent half a day on this challenge without speed up, so I decided to go west into Kyanite City, effectively Vermilion City, and challenge the Electric Gym. In this ROM hack, Surge is called Sergeant Bolt. I decided to switch train between some of my weaker Pokemon in this fight. I switched train between Homer, Cheese, and Claw to deal with Magneton. Magneton takes out Claw with a critical Thundershock, so Cheese just deals with it with Dig. Electrode uses self-destruct whilst I'm underground so I don't get hit, and I switched into Homer, then back into Cheese for Raichu, which can't attack anyway, so it's an easy battle. Eventually, I get Curls to level 35 and evolve it into Ninetales, and I do the same to Cough Drop into Wheezing after it learns Sludge. Also, Homer learned Amnesia at level 40, so I evolve it into Slowbro. It has excellent defense, however its special is a little less than I expected. After threatening the ticketing officer to go on board the SS Park, I clear out the trainers to get some much needed levels. There are a lot of water Pokemon in this ship, so it's great for Cold Sore to get some levels. Eventually, when it comes to the Jessie battle, it follows a similar pattern to the last. I send out Claw, and Raticate could have done more damage if it actually did any damage, instead just uses Tail Whip over and over, so I seismic tossed it out. I send out Cheese to deal with Dodrio, and it critically hits Drill Peck for over half of my health, as I critically slash it for over half of its. Luckily, its next Drill Peck brings me to red health, so I finish it off. I use Homer to buff up its Amnesia, and Confusion takes out Golbat and Meowth shortly after, taking out a third of my health in the process. After getting the Cut HM, I get the Fly HM from the secret house and teach it to Bird Brain. I have to travel back to Realguard Town and go south. Here I enter one half of Feldspur Cave, and this should have been connected to Feldspur City, but it's been split up into different sections like Mount Air has. Anyway, this has Pokemon similar to Cerulean Cave, namely Marowak, Venomoth, Electrode, even Alakazam. I know Alakazam has excellent speed and special, but I know Slowbro with some Amnesia will hit just as hard. On the other side, I reach Jolinaville, and there are some interesting places here. This has the Poison Gym, the police hideout to get the Ghost Scope in the Poker Cemetery, and the Grass Gym, but I need the Poker Fleet for that. I decided to go to the hideout. However, even with my team's levels in the mid-30s to level 40, the levels here are now in their mid-40s with some hard-hitting Pokemon. Speaking of which, Koga's gym has Pokemon in their late level 40s to their early 50s. I eventually get to him to have a crack, even being 10 plus levels lower than him. I send out my Cheese 14 levels below his Nidoqueen, and it goes for Tail Whip, and I critically hit it for a one-shot with Dig. Not bad. I keep it out for Muck, and Dig does less than half as it minimizes, but I get lucky and I take it out the following turn with Dig after a slash. For some reason I keep it out for Golem, who takes me out and itself with Explosion. I use Bird Brain to deal with Gengar, who opens with Toxic. Normally this would be a death sentence, but Drill Peck does half its health, and it can't put me to sleep either, so a second one finishes the battle in spite of the level difference. After that, I make my way through the police chief hideout, and it's getting weird. Some of these Pokemon are just fossils made into Pokemon. Even weirder, I'm getting good mileage out of Claw's guillotine. Anyways, I finally get to the main police chief boss. I send out Claw and get a lucky critical paralysis body slam on Poliwell, but then it responds in kind by paralyzing me with its own. However, I don't lose my turn on my next two attacks, and for his Machoke, I use Bird Brain's Drill Peck to one-shot it, and with Nidorino, despite my 10 level disadvantage, Cheese's dig was way too powerful. After getting the Ghost Scope, now that we're at higher level, I clear my way through the Poké Cemetery and get the Poké Flute. I then make my way back to Jelinaville and go to the Grass Gym. I just let Ninetales have a flamethrower field day with the trainers there. I wasn't even at full health with not enough power points on flamethrower, but when I got to Flora's team, got through it just fine. I can now make my way to Silphco, and I make use of the free healing in 9F whilst I go through each floor. I imagine that both Jessie and the police chief will be over leveled anyway, so I don't think enough experience will be overkill in this challenge. Once I get to Jessie, her team is level 48 to 50. 2 slashes from Cheese take out Golbat, Cough Drop 2 shots Dodrio, then back to Cheese to 3-shot Muck, Cold Sore leaps down Marowak, and a buffed up Bubble In from Homer, 2 shots down a Persian. I decided not to heal to see how it would fare against the police chief fight afterward. Despite my team being between 10 to 15 levels below his team, my type advantage absolutely destroys him. Cold Sore completely crushes Graveler, Bird Brain completely crushes Machamp, Cheese's buffed up Dig takes down Nidoking, and Cold Sore 2 shots Poliwrath and it never fought back. After that, I hit up the Psychic Gym and I let Homer slowly buff up with Amnesia and completely take down Hermione's Exeggutor, Hypno, Slowbro, and Alakazam down easily to claim the 5th badge. I can then proceed to travel east from Jelinaville to get the next badge. I have to travel through another portion of Mount Air to get the next badge, but before that I have a few other things to do first. In the next town, Ecloseboro, I have to access the Safari Zone and the Power Plant to get the Surf HM, the Gold Watch for the Strength HM, and the Gym Key to access the Fire Gym. The Safari Zone is a little different to in the regular games. The secret house is on the edge of a cliff rather than adjacent to it, but it still doesn't take that long to access. I then access the power plant to get the key to get through to the Fire Gym. This is filled with many electric types in their late 40s to early level 50s. However, I'm happy with my current team's type coverage. Anyways, Gym Leader Blaze has 4 fire types around level 60, and unfortunately beforehand I forgot to heal up Homer, so it had 13 health to start off with. Funnily enough, Blaze just fights like Blaine and uses a super potion on a full health Nidoqueen, so I got an amnesia in. It just uses Poison Sting to leave me with only 5 health, so I just one-shot it with Surf. You'd think that'd be the end of Homer, but Rapidash just used Growl, so I one-shot it too. Then his Arcanine uses Leer twice, so I two-shot it. Unbelievable. Ninetales finishes me with Ember, however, and then I send out Cheese to deal with it, but it takes Cheese from full health to 1 health with a Fire Blast. Dig does tremendous damage to Ninetales, but instead of finishing me off, it just uses Tail Whip, most like the rest of his team, so I finish it off with Slash. I claim the Volcano badge. After that, I bike west to River Route 1, where all the trainers from virtually the Seafoam Islands reside. Most of the trainers have either water or flying types, so I still get as many levels as I can. Eventually, north is Mika Village, where I can get the Strength HM from the Warden. This town is built on water essentially with several floating islands. The gym leader is Rocky, and as he mentions, contrast to his name, he has dragon types, and they're all similar levels as with Blaze. He has a level 59 Dragonair to start off with, so I power up Cheese. Dragonair's Hyper Beam does only 55 damage despite being 10 odd levels ahead, and after one Swords Dance, I'm now faster, and imagine due to the badge boost glitch in this game. I get 2 in before Dig takes out Dragonair. I use Strength on Gyarados, and it's a 2-shot as Dragon Rage does 40 damage. With the second Dragonair, I buff up once more, as Slam takes me to about a 5th, and I one-shot it. Aerodactyl is next though, and takes me out with Hyper Beam. I send out Homer to buff up, knowing it can take a hit, and Hyper Beam does below half, and one Surf ends Aerodactyl. Dragonite is last, and brings me to about a 3rd with Dragon Rage, then Slam brings me to red, but one last Psychic does the job. After that, there is a cave below Mika Village that will get you to the flooded cave. This isn't particularly interesting, but on the other side is a long walk to Miglioberry, where the final gym is. The wild Pokemon here are now in their late 50s to their early 60s, and the trainers here have Pokemon in their early to mid-level 60. so we are really falling behind, and once again will be time for a serious grind. After reaching Miglioberry, I battle all the trainers in the gym as they are mandatory, then they have the final face off with the police chief. His Pokemon are from level 67 to 71. Despite the level disadvantage, I had a pretty easy time. I used Sleep Powder from Cold Sore on Machamp and 3-shot it with Razor Leaf. I suppose I could have used Growth, but it doesn't power up Razor Leaf as critical hits bypass stat changes. I almost one-shot Golem, but it self-destructs and one-shots the both of us. I send out Homer to buff up and take Nidoking's attacks, and they hardly do anything. Surf takes it out. Poliwrath does a bit more, but nothing troublesome, getting me to half health, and then with Snorlax, I send out Cough Drop. I keep forgetting that it used a guard spec, so Smokescreen won't work, and as it keeps missing Fissure and I'm faster, Sludge and its own poison damage take it out. So after all that, I have all 8 badges, but this is where the real challenge begins. I have most of my team in their mid-level 50s, however the Elite Four have their teams from level 74 to level 100, and they have incredibly powerful Pokemon in spite of having just basic moves. I have to train hard. I think I'll get far, but I think I have to power level to 69. Nice. The Pokemon here give really good experience south of Miglioberry. Usually you'll run into Rapidash, Ninetales, and Primeape at level 62. I alternate between this area and just after Flooded Cave as there is a Pokemon Center near it. I also have the Saturate Cavern before Victory Road, which is full of Starmie, Seadra, Dugong, and Slowbro of all similar levels and give really good experience. However, because I have to level up 6 Pokemon roughly 15 levels, it takes a while, and whenever I say a while, I really mean it. This took me 7 hours to do so, just for this silly gag. Even Victory Road's tough. It has Golbats, Golems, and Onyxes in their level 70s. For the most part, I train just outside of Flooded Cave. Tauros gives almost 2,000 experience points, so it makes grinding a bit easier, but because you're training 6 Pokemon rather than 1, it's especially longer. I know it seems silly just to keep the gag going, but I think it's needed. I know a lot of this challenge has been grinding, but I did mention this at the start, and I hope to God that I don't have to play this hack again. Eventually, after almost 30 hours in this game, I finally have a team of level 69 Pokemon. Nice. And let's look at the team. Birdbrain has excellent attack and speed, so he may get a lot of critical hits. Claw can hit particularly hard. Cheese is a solid ground type. Homer has good type coverage and can buff hard with Amnesia, as can Cold Sore, and Cough Drop is bulky, can stall, and has extra type coverage with Thunderbolt. I think we're ready. First of the Elite Four is Crystal. She has a level 74 Venomoth, and I use Cough Drop to use Sludge, but I should have used Birdbrain instead. It brings it to about half health, but it responds with a critical Psychic to bring Cough Drop to about 69 health, which is ironically not nice at all. A second Sludge leaves it with low health, and instead of finishing Cough Drop off, it ends up healing, so Cough Drop was able to finish it off next turn. Next is a level 75 Poliwrath, and I use Birdbrain to Drill Peck it into low health. It responds with a weak Double Slap, and Birdbrain was able to finish it off with Peck. Next is a level 76 Dugong, and I send out Cold Sore to put it to sleep, then I use 2 Razor Leaves to finish the job. I keep it out for Lapras, and unfortunately I miss a Sleep Powder, and then Ice Beam brings me to about a quarter of my health. I thankfully hit my next Sleep Powder next turn, and Mega Drain does very little, so I switch out to Razor Leaf. It brings Lapras to low health, and then Mega Drain to a minuscule, but it unfortunately heals with a Super Potion. Then I finish it and heal to about 3/4 of my health. I keep out Cold Sore for Gyarados, and I put it to sleep, but it immediately wakes up. I miss the following turn, then Gyarados misses Blizzard. I finally put it to sleep, then bring in my weakened Cough Drop to use Thunderbolt. It goes to a slither of health, then it heals for 50 with a Super Potion, then I finish it off with a second Thunderbolt. I heal up outside of battle with some full restores. Next is Bruno. In contrast to the regular games, he has a bunch of psychic types. He has a level 79 Hypno, so I see how well my cheese can take attacks. I Sword Stance twice, and Hypno lands a weak headbutt instead of using psychic. I actually land a critical Earthquake, which would have done less than my actual attack, and it leaves it with a slither, and I avoid poison the next turn, then finishing off with strength. Next is Dragonite at level 80, and I have to use strength. It takes out more than half its health, as Slam does less than I expected. A second takes care of Dragonite. Alakazam at level 81 could be a major problem, but Bruno uses an X defend, and it didn't save him, surprise, surprise, from my next Earthquake. Gengar takes me to 67 health with a Nightshade, but Earthquake takes it out, as Ghosts weren't immune to ground types in this generation. Then a Polterghost appears with some health taken out of it already. Weird. Anyways, I take it out quickly before I get nightmares. Bruno is done. Next is actually Professor Oak, and he has all the starters for the Generation 1 games as well as some powerful Pokemon. First is a level 84 Raichu, and I should have used Cheese for this one. Raichu paralyzes Homer with a Thunder Shot and Force Shots it, as my buffed up Surf can't take it down. I then do the sensible thing and buff up Cheese, as Raichu can't attack. I strength it down. Next is Venusaur at level 85, and Earthquake is enough to take it down. Level 86 Blastoise is next, and Earthquake is also enough for the one shot. I can't use it on Charizard though, so I use Strength, and it was actually a crit that did less than half its health. Slash takes out a third of my health, as my resulting Slash leaves it with low health, and then it responds with a Flamethrower that leaves me with a quarter, as a second Slash takes out Charizard. Last is a level 88 Mewtwo, and I just take a chance. Luckily, Mewtwo just goes for Mist, and Earthquake does the job. Amazing. I heal back outside of battle and move on. Second from last is Giovanni, and his team are level 89 to 93. He leads with Rhydon, and I lead with Homer. I amnesia twice, as Rhydon continues to miss Horn Drill, and I'm somehow faster. I one-shot it with Surf. Level 90 Doug Trio takes out 90 of my health with a critical slash, but Surf takes care of the job. I leave Homer out to deal with Kangaskhan, and Dizzy Punch coincidentally leaves me with 90 health, but one Surf again takes it down. Level 92 Nidoqueen just tail whips me, and it's a one-shot. Last is Nidoking, and it takes me to 33 health with Horn Attack, but it can't take a single Surf. Finally, it's Jessie, the Pokemon successor. First is her level 95 Muk, so I bring in Cheese to use Sword Stance. It responds with Harden, and I decide to Earthquake right away, and it almost takes out Muk, but it just uses Harden again, so a second takes it out. Next is Machamp, so I bring in Homer to buff up with Amnesia. Machamp just uses Leer and Focus Energy, so Psychic takes it out as well. I use Cough Drop to deal big damage to Dodrio, and it uses Agility twice when it was already faster, so I took no damage in the process. I use Cold Sore to go to Growth as Marowak comes out. It does nothing with Focus Energy, and I put it to sleep as Mega Drain takes it to low health with a critical hit, then Razor Leaf does the rest. Second from last is Arbok, and I send out Claw. Acid does half my health in damage, and also a defense drop, so I use Sword Stance. Thanks to the badge boost glitch, I'm actually faster, so I use Body Slam, but it only takes out a third of its health, and a second acid takes me down. I switch into Cheese, which I should have done earlier, and Earthquake does the job. Last is a level 100 Persian, so I decide to pit Cough Drop against it. Persian misses Blizzard, thankfully, so I stall with Smokescreen. It hits Blizzard on the second turn for about 80 damage, as I reduce its accuracy a second time. It hits Blizzard again in spite of that to drop me to more than a quarter of my health, as I poison it with Toxic and ruin its accuracy further, then attack with Sludge. Between its damage and the poison damage building up, it takes Persian down, and I actually beat Jessie, becoming Giovanni's successor and winning the challenge, beating it with a team of Pokemon at the level 69 cap. This was a long run, taking me over 30 hours, but was rewarding in the end using Pokemon I've never used before. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and next will be a fossil only run, so I hope you look forward to that. I'm WildTofurkey 101, and see you next time.